Thank you. It's actually Rupp, but that's okay. There's a Senator Rupp, and he doesn't know how to pronounce our name. I'm Steve, and I am a former fetus. And I know something. I know something about every single person here. I know something about every one of you. I know exactly when your life began. Here's what happened, all right? I hope they're listening on the other side of the fence because they need a science lesson. Here's a science lesson.
I'm sorry,
I wanted to know when my life began, and here's what I found. All of us have a mother and a father, right? Our mother had an egg, and inside that egg were 23 chromosomes, okay? Our father had sperm. Inside that sperm were 23 chromosomes. The union of that egg and sperm, at that miraculous moment, your life began. That's called conception, the miracle of life. Your life began at the moment of conception. You are complete with 46 chromosomes. All right? That's your DNA. That's what makes you what you look like today. Though that DNA, nothing. From the time that you were conceived, from that moment until this very day, nothing has ever been added to you. Nothing. Except maybe some Twinkies and stuff, but that's it. Just nutrition. Nothing else has ever changed in you. And then, what you did next was, you were a one cell, and you're the first act that you did on this earth was you began to grow. You divided into 2 cells, and then into 4 cells, and then into 8 cells, and then into 16 cells. And after about a week, you were about 200 cells. Those are called embryonic stem cells. Those embryonic stem cells, those 200 cells, one was your liver, one was your pancreas, one was your skeleton, one was your blood, one was your eyes. That's what you look like after about 7 days. And you've been growing and dividing and growing and dividing, and you were getting hungry. You're like, I need a cheeseburger or something. I'm starving. So what you did next was you slid it down a tube into your mother's womb. You implanted into the wall of your mother's womb, and you started to feed from your mother. So if your mother had iced tea, you had iced tea. Your mother had fried chicken, you had fried chicken. Now, you weren't down there chomping on a chicken bone, but you were getting the nutrients of what your mother ate, went through her body into your body, which is where your belly button came from, and you continued to grow. And then after about 3.5 weeks, your heart started to beat for the very first time. And the doctor could actually listen and hear your mother's heartbeat going bump, 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 bump. And then he heard your heartbeat, very faint and very tiny. Here was your heartbeat, bump, 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 going like a little motorboat. That meant that there were 2 people that he was now treating, not just one. And then you continue to grow. And after about 6 weeks, your brain started to send signals to the rest of your body. And then you continue to grow. And at about 20 weeks, halfway through the pregnancy, your mom could feel you moving for the very first time. It's called quickening. She was like, oh, I feel something. That was you in there kicking. And every mom says exactly the same thing. Oh, this is going to be a soccer player. I can just tell, right? And then you continue to grow, and then you were born. After about 40 weeks, you were born. And then you continued to grow, and you became an infant, and you became a toddler, and you became an adolescent, and you became an adult, and you became a senior. That's life. And it all began at that miraculous moment of conception. Now, there are people who will tell you life doesn't begin at conception. Life begins when you implant into the wall of your mother's uterus. That's when life begins. No, other people say life begins when your heart starts to beat for the very first time. That's when life begins. No, others say life begins when your brain starts to function and send signals to the rest of your body. No, others say life begins at 20 weeks, at quickening, when mom can feel you in the womb for the first time. No, others say life begins at birth. No, others say, wait till you hear this one. You ready? Anybody ever hear of Princeton University, one of the oldest colleges in the country, right? Yeah. Professor Peter Singer from Princeton University has a big following in this country, unfortunately. Here's what Peter Singer says. Your life began at about 2. When you had what he calls cognitive ability, the ability to decide between one thing and another. So if I had a bowl of chocolate ice cream and a bowl of vanilla ice cream and I offered it to you and you said, I like chocolate or I like vanilla, you just used cognitive ability. If I gave that to a little 1-year-old and said, do you want chocolate or vanilla? They would say, no, ice cream, ice cream. They don't understand the difference. They just know they like ice cream. So in Peter Singer's mind, that child isn't yet human. So that little toddler toddler who gets up and falls down and gets up and falls down like we all did when we were learning to walk. Well, this particular little girl keeps falling down and keeps falling down and keeps falling down. And her parents take her to the doctor, and the doctor said, "We're very sorry. Your little girl will never walk. She has a birth defect." According to Peter Singer, since that child is not yet human, the parents should have the right, based on abortion, to give that child back. And I've seen everybody going, "You mean kill the child?" Yeah. Take the child back to the hospital, drop it off, and say, "See ya." And then the abortionist comes in with a needle and injects a poison into the child's heart. Are you okay with that? No! I'm not okay with that. What do you think Planned Parenthood has to say about that? When do they say life begins? Cecile Richards, the president of Planned Parenthood, was asked that question, and she said, whenever the mother decides. So it's up to everybody as to when life begins. Forget about conception. Forget about the science. One of the Planned Parenthood lobbyists in Florida was asked if a child is born alive during an abortion, will you, as a Planned Parenthood representative, say that that child should be killed? And she said that's a decision that should be between the doctor and the mother. She didn't defend the child. She didn't say no. That's called infanticide. That's called murder. But that's what they believe. So what are we going to do about it? Well, you know what? These videos that just came out aren't the only videos on Planned Parenthood. There are other videos that have been done recently that show Planned Parenthood allowing sex trafficking. They show Planned Parenthood allowing money to come into their facility specifically to kill black children. Planned Parenthood allows sex selection abortion. These are videos that were done undercover, and this is what our tax dollars are paying for. So I'm not up here to say, I'm the only one here today that's going to say, I don't want to defund Planned Parenthood. I want to close Planned Parenthood. And together we can do that. Thank you for being here. God bless you.